Hi, it's Wendy. In today's video I have some quick tips for you on how to keep the edges of your crocheted pieces straight. So just a few little tips. They're not necessarily my inventions, things I've picked up on the internet and from experience, but here's some things you could try if you're finding that the edges of your crochet are not very neat. So for single crochet, it can be kind of bumpy when you have a turning chain. And also it can be hard to figure out where to put your last stitch. And you can end up putting an extra one in there very easily. So you can see here that it's kind of bumpy in these first few rows. That's where I did a turning chain. But it's much straighter in these top six rows rather. So the only difference there is I didn't do a turning chain. So when you're single crocheting and you get to the end, just turn your work. You want to make sure that the loop on your hook isn't super tight. It won't work if you've got it really pulled tight. So give it a bit of leeway there and go into that very first stitch. So the one that's right next to your hook is the one that you're going to go into and make a single crochet. Then go across. So that will give you a smoother edge. And the second advantage is it's easier to see where your last stitch is. So when I get to the end here, you can see I have 1, 2, 3 left, and then there's this crossways one. So that's where I need to put my last stitch. If you look at it from the side, your stitches are going in just after this crossways bump in the previous row. So I have 3 crossways bumps there left and 3 stitches left. The way crochet works is the stitches go in a little bit past the stitch in the previous row. Right? The top V is a little bit before the legs of the stitch on this side, and on the back it's a little bit after. So we're going to put each stitch in again just after the bump. No turning chain, just do a single crochet and go across, putting one in after each of the crossways bumps to the end. Here's the last one, and your last stitch goes in after that bump. If you have a bump left after your hook, then you haven't gone far enough. You need to do one more. If it helps you for the first few rows, put a stitch marker in that first stitch so that you can see where your last stitch goes. So that's not far enough. I've still got 1 crossways bump and I have to put the stitch in after that bump in the last V on the top. So that's single crochet, and that will give you some nice neat edges. How about double crochet? Well, the thing with a turning chain in double crochet, if you chain 3 and then turn, it leaves you with these gaps. And that is not very attractive, and it's kind of bumpy. So you've probably seen around the internet the strategy for a starting double crochet, and it's what's called a stacked single crochet. So again, no turning chain, just turn your work, do a single crochet in that very first V right next to your hook, and then stack it by picking up that second leg, or putting your hook under that second leg away from your hook, picking up another one and going through 2. Let me show you that again. Do a single crochet in the first stitch, put your hook under the second leg, the one further away from you or from your hook, pick up another strand and go through 2. And then continue across with your double crochet. So again, that does two things. It fills in that gap, well, three things actually. Fills in the gap, it makes a straighter edge, and it makes it easier to figure out where your last stitch belongs. I'll show you that when we get to the end of this row. Now, same as before, the stitch underneath is just before the one that's on top of it. So if you have one left here at the end, you need to put one in there because it needs to be just past that stitch. So that's not our last one yet. We've got one more here and one more V on the top to put our stitch in. So your last double crochet will be right at the end, okay? After this last crossways bump, that's where it goes. For the next row, just turn, single crochet into the second leg, another single crochet. So that becomes your turning, or your last one for the next row. So you could put a stitch marker in there if that helps you at first to remember where to put your hook. So you can see that fills it in a lot better. It's a nicer result. So that's your double crochet. What about half double crochet? Half double crochet actually looks all right with a 2-chain turning chain. It doesn't leave much of a gap. It leaves a fairly straight edge. You can't see any difference along the side here. But if you'd like to fill in that little bit of a gap, here's a suggestion. For this one, you will need one turning chain. So just one, then turn it around and do a half double crochet in the first half double crochet. Don't skip to the second one. Now, where does your hook go? Well, we have one turning chain, so we don't put it in that one. We put it in the second one from the hook. So this is different than the single crochet. So I'm going to do a half double crochet in the first half double crochet in the same space where I made my turning chain. We'll go to the end and I'll show you again. Now these ones look a little different. Instead of a crossways bump, it's kind of an angled bump there, and your hook goes in just after that. Half double crochet is a nice dense stitch. It's great for blankets and hats and things. So if we're looking at these diagonal stitches, right, I need to put in 1, 2, 3 more. My last stitch is here, and I need to put in one right at the end there, just past the top of that last stitch. Oops, I did a double there by accident. Okay, the last one goes there, just past this last slanted stitch. If you have fuzzy yarn, it can be harder to see. So if you'd like to put a stitch marker in here, here's what you do. So again, chain 1. There's one turning chain for this half double crochet. That's your turning chain. So we need to go into this space right here and do a half double crochet in that space. That's where your stitch marker would go if you wanted to mark that one. That second loop from the hook right there. Then half doubles across. Each one just past this little slanted, slippery hook today, little slanted piece on the back here. And when you get to the end, right, looking at these little slanted ones, there's the last one. Right there. And that will give you a nice straight edge, and it will fill in just that little bit of a gap. So to recap, for singles, no turning chain, just turn and do your single crochet right in that first stitch. For doubles, use a stacked single crochet in that first stitch. And for half doubles, use a single turning chain and put a half double in the first half double. So I hope that helps you to get straighter edges and neater crochet. Have a great day. We'll see you in the next video.